What's up, chat? You're probably wondering why we brought you here today.
Did you stop it or did it stop on its own?
I stopped it.
Oh, okay.
And then restarted it.
JC with the shot is getting in.
Ooh!
Oh, that's a lot warmer than it was this morning.
That's what I'm saying.
Whew. Feels good.
Did you say that?
No, I was like, why does it seem hotter than it was yesterday?
I don't remember that.
And it's only, 100 degrees.
It was 101 last night.
Oh, shit.
Welcome to the hot tub.
Sorry. Added more surface area.
It'd be like that.
I added more surface area.
It'd be like that.
I'm like I feel like I should turn yours a little bit.
Yeah, I have too much space.
Nice. Fortnite.
Tori sent you a post by Julian Edelman.
He sends me so much Patriot shit. It's like, dude, I don't care about the Patriots.
The Patriots thing?
Oh, yeah. Every time he played fantasy, his whole team would just be Patriots.
That sucks.
Well, now he's a Buccaneers fan because Tom Brady. Goddamn, a bunch of pale boys.
I definitely am.
Shit. Alright, how do we start this thing?
I don't know.
Alright.
Your podcast.
Welcome to Irish Exit Everything. My name is Frank.
I'm Robbie.
And I'm Jeff, and welcome to For the Love of Humankind.
I'm Robbie.
Got a little collaboration going on in the hot tub. Hot tub edition. Hot seat edition, if you will.
Ooh.
Yeah.
With some even hotter nuts.
He's got some spicy nuts, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I start with a spicy question?
If that's how you choose to start, then yeah.
Alright. Diving right in.
Jeff's first.
Jeff,
I'm first, okay.
yes. How do you feel about your body?
How do I feel about, like, just overall, like, health-wise?
Whoever comes to mind.
How do I want to start this? So, I think for me, I have a very negative perception of my body. I think just based on, like, experiences in life, being bullied, and, like, when I look in the mirror, like, I think that, like, my face is attractive, but, like, my body isn't. So, I know I could also be doing healthier things. I mean, the first thing I did this morning was wake up and start drinking lemon shandy. So, but it's vacation, so you know. But yeah, I also don't eat enough like fruits and veggies either. So like, I obviously could do a lot of things that like could warrant being healthier, but like my perception of myself is not super high. So.
A follow-up question.
Yeah.
You said that you feel like your face is attractive, but your body isn't.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like your body isn't attractive?
I think just because, like, I have this, like, I feel like I have, like, this pear shape, kind of. As I'm throwing the
Trevor?
But I feel like I have this, like, pear shape. Like, even when the last time we were together, like, the three of us in December, like, I look at those photos and I was like, I hate these photos. Because I just, like, see myself as being, like, wide. So, yeah, I think it's just, like, and I feel like I think this adds to it, but, like, I feel like I'm a pretty, like, fashionable person.
I agree with that, yeah.
But it's hard to find, like, good fashion that, like, fits bigger guys. Which is frustrating. So, because either it's like too tight, and then you just like see like the fat because it's like so, or like the shit's too baggy. So there's like nothing that like fits well. So
That makes sense.
yeah.
We're actually going to get into that in a little bit regarding fashion and whatnot. But onto Robbie. How do you feel about your body?
Well, I appreciate your answer.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I think my perspective, my view of my body has changed over the years. I used to be very conscious of how white my skin is, so I wouldn't take my shirt off around people.
I apologize for calling us all pale boys.
No. I don't feel any sort of way about it now. I've grown into it. I can't change it, and it's how my body is. So. But I used to also be very skinny, like unhealthy amount of skinny. In high school, I weighed very little, and I was very conscious of that, and felt like no matter how much I ate, I still would stay the same weight. And my doctor said I'll grow into it. Like everybody's body is different, but I was really tall and I had a really thin frame, and I was very self-conscious about that. But yeah, over the years, I would say over the last, even post-college till now, so that would be last 7 years, 6 years, 7 years. It's been like a slow journey in loving my body, and I don't fully love my body. I would say right now I'm just coming to accept my body for what it is. It is a vessel that has gotten me to this point. It does a lot of amazing things that I don't even know about. Processes things, food, water, etc. But I would say one of the things that I probably struggle with the most with it when it comes to my body is comparison to other men, specifically men that are fit. They have a lot of muscle. It's sort of the masculine build, athletic build. And I think that's something that I've struggled with a lot. I've been very conscious of it lately, the last few months, but it's been something that's been a struggle, I would say.
Yeah, I feel that. I would agree. Like, I think I told both of you this, like, and I don't know if, Frank, I don't know if you're going to get into this, but, like, that's sometimes why I feel so deterred to go to the gym, because of that. Like, because I have this bigger body, like, I have this, like, subconscious thought that, like, people expect me to be able to lift more than what I do. Because I haven't lifted since Robbie and I were in grad school, really. So, yeah.
You said that you've always struggled to love your body,
Yeah.
and that's true even when, like you said, you were like an unhealthy skinny.
Yeah.
So that's funny because people would assume that like obese and like overweight is like the only unhealthy, but like you can also be skinny unhealthy as well.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it depends on the person, right? But I've never struggled with the eating disorder, but folks that do, at least from what I've heard and what I've read about, the desire is to be as skinny as possible. But that ends up being an unhealthy skinny. You're not nourished, not whatever. For me, it was not that necessarily. It was just that I could not put weight on. Like I could not put it on, and I was so self-conscious about that. There was no muscle. There was no. I guess to the exterior world, it was presenting as somebody that is so skinny that people would look at me and see me as unhealthy, or as if I had an eating issue or something like that. It was hard.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's obviously just between the three of us. It's super obvious that everyone doesn't love their body, I would assume.
Yeah.
So like there are no outliers here, but similar to Jeff, I would look at old photos of myself. Like I'm like in the best shape of my life, and I'm still like, let me make sure I'm not gonna flash anyone here. But like even now, I'm like, what is this? Right? What the hell is this? But like I'm in the best shape of my life. And so like, even when in the best shape, I still don't love my body.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's hard too because, like I remember conversations that you and I would have, years back, and we would make jokes of like both of us being fat pieces of shit. And you've lost a lot, right? And I think it's hard too because I think a lot of people don't realize that when I don't know what point it is, but like when you start losing like all of that weight, you start getting some of that like extra skin, right? Like, and so then that becomes something that you're like self-conscious about. And like people don't realize that because you've had all this like stuff, your skin like molds to that, and then you lose it, right? And then you've got that in the skin, and that becomes something for people too. Like, I don't know if that's what you're experiencing or not, but you look good. You really do.
That. Yeah, but like, it's just. My point is like, it's no matter what you look like you're not going to be happy with your body for the most part. And I think that's just a societal thing. And you guys knowing me, I'm going to say it's because of capitalism.
What?
Yeah.
What's that?
So, and consumerism, and that's how, like, fashion, especially, like, makes a profit by saying, like, oh, you are going to like the way you look in this thing, so you need to buy this thing. And then, would you say once you buy, like, a shirt or something that you think you look good in, like, you feel better about yourself?
I mean, I think it goes with the saying, like the dress how you feel, right? Or like, if there's something to say, like, if I dress to the nines, right? Like, I'm gonna feel better about myself. And yeah, like I think I look good in a suit. I mean, even around like Robbie, when I sent him, like when I worked the wedding last week, like he was hyping me up and stuff, and I was like, yeah, like I do look good. But if I'm just wearing like a hoodie and shorts, I'm just like. So yeah, I do think fashion plays a huge piece in that. And like there are websites like ASOS that like focus on like larger builds and stuff like that, but then you just get into like plain colors, and it's just not fashionable. Right. So.
Fashionable according to who, though?
Right. Society. Right.
And the funny thing is, like, that changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are different trends. And why do you think there are different trends?
Is that rhetorical? Or is that an actual question?
Seems like a real question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think things go in and out of style based on what influencers dictate, right? Like the 90s styles are coming back, right? So like mom jeans or like high-waisted jeans, I think, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's all for, I mean, at the end of the day, a profit, right?
Right.
Yeah, I would say the trends change because they have to keep selling products. So it's like, oh, this is what's fashionable now, so you need this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever bought a piece of clothing because you thought like you looked good in it? And, like,
Oh yeah. I would say most clothing that I buy, I'm like, well, I'm conscious of how it's gonna look on me. Yeah, like is it not? I would say not necessarily to enhance what my body looks like, but I am conscious of how it does look on me. But I don't. I would say to buy something, from my perspective, if I were to buy something because I want it, because the sole purpose I want it to make me look better, then I'm probably not buying it for me the right reason. I just want to feel good in a piece of clothing. So whether that be workout shorts or a bathing suit or a nice shirt, that sort of a thing. Yeah. But I think it's always present in my mind. Or what will other people think I look like in this?
Right.
Will I be seen as someone who is more desirable? That sort of a thing. That's a hard thing to grapple with. But,
yeah. We talked about that a little bit over text. So we were talking about like what we're gonna wear to the wedding.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm working my outfit out with my +1 because we wanted to match.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking to myself, yeah, not because like we'll look good, but I was thinking to myself like other people will see us matching and think that's cool.
Right.
So like that other people's perception was what was dictating what I was gonna wear. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think off of kind of what you shared, like and I guess this is for both of you, like, do you ever buy clothing not because you think you're gonna look at it, but because you think it's like visually appealing? Like, do you look at something like, oh, I think this is really awesome, and not have that mindset of like, I wonder what I would look at that? Have you ever? I don't know. Does that make sense?
I think it's both. I don't know if I've purely for clothing. I don't know if I've purely bought it for something. I'm trying to remember buying clothes. I actually don't like buying clothes. I find it to be a really anxious experience.
Yeah.
There's lots of options, and then there's money associated with it, and there's a financial insecurity that I have. Well, yeah. I would say financial insecurity is a good way to describe it. But if I find something, I think if I were to go out right now, like if we were to go to a store right now, and I were to see a shirt that I'm like, I really like the design on this or whatever, I would consider buying it. But I know that that there are probably unconscious things that I'm not aware of all the time, playing a part in selecting something, and I can't name what those things are all the time.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's like a half thought, but I don't know.
I'm just trying to unlearn like buying new clothes all the time, even if I like the design or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I'll either try to just keep wearing what I own already, or like just focusing on thrift stores. Yeah, like I had a pair of jeans that ripped in the crotch, and I was like, typically I would just like go buy another pair of jeans. Like, oh, these are no good anymore. I'll go buy another pair. But instead, I took it to I don't know what you call it, a tailor, I guess, and had them stitch it up. Because other than that hole, like they're still good pants.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to unlearn consumerism, I guess, and like constantly buying new clothes. Because yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that because you talked about like clothes enhancing your body. Like I definitely don't feel like no matter what, I'm not going to be happy with my body. It's like
Yeah. Good point.
and to that point, I guess, how do you guys feel about the body positivity movement?
I can take it first.
Yeah, go for
You
it.
answered the other one first. I go back and forth on it. Because on one hand, I think it's good that we, to some degree, for some folks, I think it's good that we emphasize that like your body is what it is, and you can be positive about it, no matter the shape or the size or the color or the hue or whatever. I feel like there is some positivity in that, or some benefit in that positivity. I think there's also limitations because it is guided by profit.
Yeah,
I think in a lot of ways. Yeah, it's got. I mean, I would say the whole self-care industry is just like, it's tough because it can be very beneficial, but it's a lot like reform versus abolition of something. Like there can be some positives, some really good benefits, but it's not fixing the problem that is a structural thing. So you can only reform something for so long until it becomes a problem again, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the same way about the body positivity movement. Yeah. And I think it depends on who you ask, because there are doctors, somebody who follows science, not necessarily me as a scientist, but people who follow science, they might be like, doctors are saying that technically you're obese, or technically your BMI is too high, or whatever. And that's a problem because the BMI scale is a racist thing. It's a not equitable measurement. So I answered that in many different directions, but I don't know. I think it goes both ways. I think there's some benefits to it, but there's some limitations too, and that's hard to name what those are right away. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So I think similar to Robbie, right? Like I understand the idea of like, loving your body and loving yourself, but like until it becomes like I would say quote unquote like a mass movement where you see these companies like actually listening to people, right? Like, I don't know if you all like pay attention, but like, you know, the way that different companies make their clothes, right? They're gonna fit differently, right? And so for women especially, like, if they go to a certain store and say they're like, they typically wear like a 3 and like pant size, like they can go to another store and they're wearing like a 14.
Yeah.
So like, until there's like, I guess, congruency and like consistency, like that piece of things is always gonna like make people, I think, feel a certain way, right? So like you said, like no matter maybe how much you get in shape or like how fit you get, there's still gonna be that thing of like not loving your body because of everything that's, you know, we've learned, right, throughout our lives. And I mean, like anything, like it's a start, but like where's the finish? Like what is that goal? So I could promote body positivity all day, and I say that because I don't always, or rarely, I should say, because I think that in order to be invested in that, like you need to be invested, I think 100%, right? So like, great, like I can say, oh yeah, like be happy in your body, but if I'm not happy in my body, like am I actually like, you know, supporting it, if that makes sense. So
You touched on the like the size difference.
yeah.
I was looking into that a little bit before this. It's called vanity sizing. So basically, like what was a size 12 like in the 90s or whatever, like is now like a size 6. Like even that size 6, there's like a 6-inch variation.
Yeah.
Like through all the stores, and that's just to like make people feel good. Like, oh, like you're a size 6, but really they're actually a size 12. There's nothing wrong with being a size 12, but like, and what you said about like, oh, and you know the companies need to start listening. The companies need to start listening, right? Think about what you just said there.
Yeah.
Like, they're still going to make a profit off of this body positivity,
Right,
like
right.
what Robbie was saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, plus size stores.
Yeah.
You know, love what you look like in our clothes. Like buy our clothes, you'll love what you look like. So it's like, there's no way, at least from my understanding, there's no way to get away from that like profitability off of body image. And I guess the counter to body positivity would be body neutrality, where, because like loving your body constantly, that's not sustainable either. And like just from our discussion, we've seen like you don't love your body at all times. So like body neutrality is like realizing that your body doesn't define you. I think you call it a vessel.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like you are in your body, but it doesn't define you. So, you guys have any thoughts on that, body neutrality?
I like that much better than body positivity. I think you said like it's not sustainable to love your body all the time, and I think that's just true about love in general. It's not always a sustainable thing, and we're going to fail at it. And so what I would hate to happen is that you're on the right path up to loving your body, but then you have a string of bad days or a string of bad weeks, and then all of a sudden you hate your body again because you're trying so hard to love it. You're focusing so hard on that you're not paying attention to really everything your body does for you. And I don't know. That to me, I think makes a lot more sense. I obviously don't know enough about body neutrality. But I think it's a better path, probably a more sustainable path.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would echo, like, that's not, like, body neutrality isn't, like, a phrase that I have heard very, very often, right? Like, a little bit. So, like, like, in concept, right, I think it makes sense, but I think as Robbie said, like, everything, even, like, the things that you enjoy, right, like, even if you're doing it like 1,000 times a day, whatever that is, like you're still at some point you're still gonna like not find joy in doing that thing. So like, depending on how long we live, like, right, like we're in this vessel you know, for however long, I think at some point, and I said like, there's just like Robbie said, like there's just an acceptance, right, of like, this is what I have. Like our bodies have natural limitations to them. Like Robbie may not, you know, become like Hulk Hogan and be just like I don't know. I don't know why Hulk Hogan was like my.
I don't want to be him.
But like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, right? Like huge muscles. Like some people it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You know. So. And I think that too is like when we compare ourselves to those individuals, and I do this as well. Like, yeah, what may work for one person may not work for me. So if I look at like, I used to use bodybuilding.com all the time for my workouts, and like 12 weeks to get shredded. So like that's one of the plans. But like in that 12 weeks, like no matter how closely I follow that, like I'm not necessarily going to get the results that they did either. And I think that's just a part of accepting like our body needs different things.
Yeah. Yeah, that 12-week timeline isn't going to work for everyone.
Right.
Yeah. And you mentioned like big muscles like young Arnold.
Yeah.
But like when you look at like those World's Strongest Man competitions, like they're not like ripped.
Yeah.
Like, they almost look overweight, honestly. Like they don't have abs. It's like it's a belly.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing to think about, where it's like we think huge biceps and whatnot is like synonymous with being strong.
Right.
Not necessarily. You mentioned comparing yourself to others. Like, through what lens are you doing that?
I think in a sense of like, wow, that's much louder up here. I think in a sense of like, you know, and I made this joke to Robbie on the drive here, that like, or no, not even on the drive here, when we were going to the, walking to the bar the other night, and I was like, you know, subconsciously, like, you know, if somebody is like watching porn, right, like, subconsciously you see all these men, like, who are usually pretty skinny, potentially like ripped, jacked, however you want to describe it, like with these like beautiful women, right, or whatever. And subconsciously, like if that's an activity you enjoy doing, like you can say, oh, the only real way for me to have something like this is to look like this. So there becomes like that subconscious piece of like, well, I'm never going to get anybody that is super, super attractive because I don't look this way. And I know Robbie had some points on that too, that I think it was a really good conversation that we had. So yeah, I think that's part of it, right? I think they going to the gym and being like, oh yeah, like, you know, I see their progression. Why am I not seeing like my progression? You know.
What's the original question?
When you compare yourself to others, if you do,
Yeah.
I'm sure most people do.
Yeah.
I know I do. Like, through what lens are you comparing yourself?
If I know the person, I'm wondering, like last night when we first got in here, and I took my shirt off, I'm thinking like, okay, what are they thinking about my body? What are two of my closest friends who know me fairly well, I would say, what are they thinking? Or if I'm at the gym, right, and I know you and I have talked about this, the male gaze, like I'm looking at other men and how they're looking at other men, or looking at other men, thinking that the women are looking at them.
Right.
It's such a hard thing to unlearn. I catch myself doing it all the time. I'm like, wow, that man, his body, he can come to the gym with a cutoff and just not work out at all and just walk around with a cutoff, and people will find him desirable. It's like, that's a hard thing to wrestle with.
Yeah.
I can come to the gym with a cutoff, and maybe some people will find him desirable, but maybe not. Right. So I don't know. I think it's all. I think some of it is fabricated. Like, I'm thinking probably the worst. Like, oh, they think my skin is too pale. I'm too skinny. I'm too I'm not built enough, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
and therefore not desirable.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, that male gaze.
Man,
It's not good for anyone, really.
no. No.
Especially women of color.
Mm-hmm.
They suffer the most from the male gaze.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, like even last night taking our shirts off.
Yeah.
I've always because I mentioned like in my younger years, I was much chubbier than this. So like I would always wear my shirt like in a pool and stuff. So like even last night when I took my shirt off, I was thinking the same thing. Like, oh my god, like my friends are gonna like judge me for having these rolls.
Sure.
I wasn't even thinking about your body, honestly. I was thinking about my body.
Right.
And I think that's a good point. Like, honestly, to take Jeff's phrase, at the end of the day, like no one really cares about like your body. Like they're thinking about their own body.
Yes.
So
Yes.
something we have to unlearn, like you said.
Yeah. And I think it's okay. I think there's a piece of this too. Like it's okay to be attracted to a body. I'm not saying don't be. Because attraction is a whole different conversation that I think all of us could probably talk about on some level. But it's I think more so about like being conscious of like when you're attracted to a body, why are you attracted to it? What about that body attracts you to it? And if you keep coming up with the same answers, well, they're fit, they're athletic, they're white or black or brown or whatever, something to think through.
Yeah.
Like, why is that to me the standard of attraction? Where did I learn that? Who taught me that, or what taught me that? How was I socialized to believe that? It's an important thing to work through. Not easy. You're not going to be perfect at it. Probably not even going to be good at it.
Right. Not at first.
Yeah.
Or ever.
But you practice every day.
How do you practice?
Honestly, exactly what I just told you. Like I ask myself, why do I find X, Y, Z attractive? Why am I into this feature in someone? Like where did I learn that? And I think sexuality plays a role in that too. There are people that are maybe not attracted to bodies at all, or attracted to intelligence or personality primarily, right? But with all of that, it's a spectrum. So for some people, you look at them and you're like, I'm very attracted to their mind, not their body. You look at the next person, I'm very attracted to their body, not their mind. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess to answer your question, I do it in the moment, and I do a lot of writing, reflecting on it. That's only for me to see. I don't share it with anybody. So that 5-6 months from now, I can look back and be like, oh, that's what I was thinking. How has my thinking evolved, devolved, stayed the same?
Yeah. There's probably a lot, because you mentioned that, there's a spectrum and people are attracted to intelligence more so than physical features.
Yeah.
That's probably a lot more common than we think.
Yeah.
But like when you look at the media, like blockbuster movies, like the main lead character is always like this fit male.
Yeah.
I know we're talking a lot about males, but like that's really the only way we can speak on is because we're males. But like I think about Guardians of the Galaxy. When Chris Pratt has that one moment where it's like, he's shredded and he's like all sweaty and stuff, and it's like he's the main character, so it's like, wow, like that's what a strong male lead's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
But intelligence is probably a lot more of an attraction than we realize.
I think it plays a bigger role than we think, for sure. I think there's also a point to make too. It's not just about like muscles, but I think we do a lot of shielding of ourselves too. So like, for example, I notice in people when they laugh, they cover their mouth because they don't want people to see their smile or their teeth. Or I think of people who don't make eye contact, like myself. I'll make eye contact with people, but I don't do it for a prolonged period of time unless I am super, super comfortable with where we're at, in like where I'm at with them. Because it's an intimate experience. It's an emotional experience, I think. But it's not just muscles. It's not just body shape, but it's also things like like even facial hair. Like, oh, I got it. Like if we have a wedding tomorrow, I got to shave this off because I don't want people to think I'm scraggly or that I don't care about my body. In reality, I could go and maybe nobody will even notice. And also, who gives a shit if they notice, right? But I still brought my shaving supplies to do it, right? So, just things that I've noticed.
So I know that you mentioned like the eye contact thing, and I think that you both probably recognize that this is something that I do, like when I'm talking for like prolonged periods of time. Like I struggle to do the eye contact thing. Like I'll look like elsewhere, and my eyes will like wander. Even in like serious conversations, like that's how it is. But do you think that's like more of like a confidence thing? Like you, like I know especially like when I'm making arguments, then I'm like, okay, I know I do this. Like, if I look you in the eye, I'm like, I need to know what I'm talking about. Like sometimes, like if I'm just looking elsewhere, like I'm bullshitting, like whatever. And I think that comes off as like a confidence piece. Like you two, like feel, like subconsciously, do you think that's is part of that for you?
I haven't really thought about that too much. I know, similar to you, I think when I'm talking to someone, I'm doing it right now. Like I have to like look off because I'm thinking about what I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like if I have to look you in the eye, which I do look people in the eye, but like I have to know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll like kind of like look around to think about what I'm saying. So I don't know if it's a confidence thing. But
Could be. It could be. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I do the same. I'll look off when I'm thinking. If it's a heated argument, I'm looking you directly in the eye.
Is that an intimidation factor?
It might be. But I'm also confident in what I'm saying usually. So like, I'll say it as you described, Cobra quick. I just get like get to that point where I can get into a flow state and just say things. Most of which I mean. Some I don't, but that's a byproduct of just talking, conversating.
And you have a very specific look when
do.
you get in that.
I
And I
What
think
does it look like?
I can't do it. But like you can even. I think if you're around people long enough, like even if you're not in person, and you're talking to them, like you can like visually see the looks that you're giving you, which I think is interesting too. But that's like a whole different conversation. Like that's like psychology. Like you don't need to go there.
Sure.
But that's just my way of saying I know how you're looking at when you're responding to Discord or talking to us.
I want you to try demonstrate it.
No, that's fine. Maybe later.
Yeah.
That's another thing, like, that plays into the whole body language thing where if, like, you sit or stand a certain way, like, you're perceived as being more dominant and whatnot. And dominance is perceived as attractive oftentimes. And attractive people are perceived as, like, knowing what they're talking about, even if they just look good.
Being more successful.
Which is insane, yeah.
I think I brought up with you, I think it was just you, Frank, a while back, not too long ago, where I brought up about when I painted my nails.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this before, but I noticed that when I had my nails painted, like I cared a lot about how people perceived them and what their initial response was going to be. So there were some people that didn't even, like I saw them noticing it, they didn't say anything.
Yep.
That could be good or bad, who knows. There were people that definitely were like, oh my god, those look so good, or commented where I got them done, or who helped me, or whatever. And then there were definitely people that looked at me, or that I didn't want to see them, so I would hide my hands anyways. You know, call your hand up, you can't see the nails. Or
gloves
on
on in the office.
Yeah, it's just really cold in here. And I think that was a good test for me. Who do I care about is perceiving me, and who am I most comfortable around, and why? Why do I care about them perceiving me? Is it going to be seen as negative if I'm wearing nail polish because I'm a man, or whatever? You know? So,
Yeah. I feel like femininity is also on a spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's probably better for everyone's mental health if men especially were to practice their femininity more.
Yeah.
And I feel like you guys are much more open about doing that than I am. But
yeah, I mean, we're at different points probably. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that it's just like such a burden men place on themselves where you have to fit into this very rigid definition of what it means to be a man, and it's just not fair to anybody. Like, you restricting yourself is harmful. Because if you have a desire to do something, you should explore it, right? And that's okay. You change your mind about things, or let's say you wear nail polish and you're like, actually, don't feel anything about this. Maybe I won't do this, or maybe I don't feel anything, which means I am giving myself permission to do it more, to push those boundaries and see. Yeah, it's a hard thing because we all try to fit, us subconsciously try to fit into that box, because we're afraid of what we'll be called when we don't fit inside the box. We'll be labeled as that sort of a thing.
Hey, even like when the three of us, whether it's like just the two of us or like the two of us or even all three of us together in public, whenever we're like physically affectionate towards each other, whether that's even just like hugging, like we run the risk of being called gay, and we have been called gay like in public. You guys just recently,
yeah, we recently did, yeah.
So it's just wild to think that just being affectionate towards your friends is like a gay thing to do, and that, which isn't a bad thing, but the way that this guy was saying, well, maybe not this guy in particular, the guy that called you.
I mean, he was very drunk, but I know that right before he said anything, I was like grabbing Jeff's shoulder, and like rubbing his back a little bit, just in a normal, like, affectionate way. And I think maybe he saw that and then didn't say anything initially, and then we were having a conversation about another man who's not involved, who Jeff doesn't know, I've only met once. And I said to Jeff, you wouldn't like him because he's type A. He's a type A kind of guy, very like demanding of the people around him. And you would find him, Jeff, you would find him to be annoying. And the guy was like, why won't we like this person? And he just sort of inserted himself. And then was like, I pegged you guys. I'm so proud of myself. I pegged you guys. And I'm not even into pegging. But I pegged you guys. I'm not into pegging. He kept saying that. I'm like, you don't have to keep telling us. Like, if you are or if you aren't, is not the point of why you entered the conversation. So, yeah, it's just a funny thing. But yeah, we do. You're right. I mean, we get pegged as, gay or which is meant to be a derogatory term.
Typically.
Yeah, right. And so, yeah, it's an interesting tactic people use.
That's funny that he made that disclaimer that he's not into pegging.
Several times.
Yeah.
Several times.
That's almost like a defense mechanism, it seems like. Yeah.
Like you're testing the waters, like what are they going to think if I'm into that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to bring it back to body neutrality, because you had said that we should think about what our vessel does for us.
Yeah.
So, if you want to go first, like, if you want to share with us, like, the positive things that your vessel does for you, focus more on that, and more so than what your vessel looks like. It's a good practice.
It is.
I mean, I don't want to say the things that Robbie already said, like the digestion. Well, my digestion system is fucked anyway. But like,
as you eat spicy nuts and drink beer.
yeah.
No shame.
It's vacation.
Yeah.
Every day.
Exactly.
Every day.
I wish. But no, like I think over the last couple of years, I think that I, one, have become more of a hypochondriac than I have anything. And so, like, I think my body is, like, shutting down when it's probably, like, literally just doing its job. And so, like, I think if you two remember, like, I would go to, like, I went to the doctor a lot a few years ago to, like, try and figure out what the fuck was wrong with me. And a lot of them were like, oh, like, it's anxiety, or, like, it's X, Y, and Z. And I think that I, especially in my early 20s, I think took advantage of my body a lot. So I used to drink ungodly amounts of alcohol, and, like, not feel any remorse, like, not feel hungover, like, any of that.
Right.
And then now, I'm like, I eat some chicken wings and I'm like, damn, like I feel like I'm dying. So like I've come to appreciate the things that my body, I think more so used to do rather than now, because I don't think that's something that I really think about, right? Like, especially with my depression and anxiety getting worse as I get older, it seems like. I don't know. It's like I appreciate the things that it does, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm still alive, so it's still doing its job. Maybe not as well, but I'm still waking up every morning, so I don't know. That's something for me to work on for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned like you appreciate the things that it does. Is that just getting up in the morning and nothing beyond that?
I mean, I don't do a lot of things outside of like normal living. I feel like, in quotations, like wake up, go to work, come home, like either play games or like spend time with my dog, and then go to bed and then do it again. So like, I feel like if I were doing more things, I would see that. But as of right now, like that's just where life has been. Even like I think a lot of that too is because of like COVID as well. So I feel like I was doing a lot more of that.
Like spending time with your dog. Yeah, you took him on some walks,
Yeah.
some long walks.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. And I think too, like, this is something that I don't think that, I mean, this is something I know I don't think about a lot, but like, being like able-bodied, like, and being able to actually like do these things, like I think a lot of times goes unnoted or unsaid. Like we don't think about that a lot.
Yeah.
I know I don't, and that's something for me to like be like, okay, like I'm able to do these things freely or without assistance, like, and I think we take that for granted because any day, like that, you know, that could change. So, and for a lot of the population, like they're not able to do something, you know, a lot of these things either. So,
yeah, it is kind of an ableist thing to just like think about your own body.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, that your body's changing. Like our vessels will change. That's inevitable. That's something we should lean into. And so like thinking about accessibility for someone who isn't able-bodied like us, that's good for everyone.
Yeah.
Like more like wheelchair ramps.
Universal
Like we
design.
might not need it right now, but like you said, like maybe someday. So like thinking more in terms of accessibility will be good for everyone in the long run. But,
Yeah.
well, what about you? What does your body do for you?
I think it's an emotional response for me because the vessel that our body is kind of the reason why I think that there could be a God. Because it's a fucking miracle the stuff that it does for us. I mean, just think in plain terms. Like we breathe without even thinking sometimes.
Lizard brain.
Our lizard brain. Yeah, we think without even thinking sometimes. We just do it, right? We blink. We move. I mean, some people move their whole day without even thinking that they're doing it. They just do it out of muscle memory or whatever. It nourishes us when we give it things. We give it food and water, and
sometimes not enough water.
Sometimes not enough water. Most times not enough water, maybe. Sometimes not the right foods, or not, the foods that's good for our bodies, or alcohol, or smoking, or suppressants, things like that. I mean, it just does miracles. In my opinion, miracles. Because it gets very existential. Like humans have existed for thousands of years. And we are here because our ancestors made sure of it. In good times and in bad. Some of our ancestors weren't great. Actually, a lot of them probably weren't. But they reproduced and had us. Right?
Those bastards.
Mother frickers. This is a family podcast. So,
it's not.
Pocket.
But yeah, it does miracles for us. So for me, like when I started shifting and continue to shift my perspective on what my body's limits are, that to me is a miracle too, right? So like just doing stretches, like stretching your body, seeing how far, how long you can stretch a certain way or move a certain way. Like mobility training, I think is super healthy, and it's helped me feel good. But then there's the whole psychological thing. You mentioned like depression and anxiety, and that works into our bodies as well. I mean, we do things that, as a result, change the way our body looks or feels. And then to your point about like it's sort of ableist to only think about yourself, your own body. I think that's true in a lot of ways. And we can't start appreciating and uplifting other people fully until we get to a point, in my opinion, until we get to a point where we are comfortable with what our bodies look like, because then we can become advocates in the truest sense of the word.
Yeah.
I would say it's not super true advocacy all the time if you're constantly trying to help other people but you don't do anything to help yourself.
Right.
It's something that I thought about. But yeah, if I think about it for too long, I'll start crying because our bodies do a lot for us. When we get sick, we have a whole immune system, most of us, right?
Yeah.
That help us get better. It's just it's amazing, our bodies. So when you stop thinking about it and how people view it and think about it like, this is what my body's doing right now as I sit in this tub of water, you know, it's a miracle.
Yeah. And like resting in like a hot tub of water, like that's important for your vessel as well.
Yeah.
For me, physically, I appreciate that my vessel takes me out into nature.
Yeah.
Most recently, that's where I feel like I can connect with myself. Sometimes unconsciously, like you were saying, and then mentally, I've been appreciating reading more and more, seeing how much I can stretch my brain, not just my body, but even understanding my limits. Like, even if I'm working out more, like I'll get frustrated. Like, man, I still can't run a mile without getting like super winded, you know. So like that plays into like continuing to stretch yourself and push your vessel to its limits and get better. But you also mentioned advocates, like for everyone.
Yeah.
And I recently learned a term like accomplices over allies, because everyone hears about being an ally for like marginalized groups. But like that only takes you so far to like speak out for these other groups. Because obviously people have been doing that for a long time, and there's still not a lot of change. There's still a lot of discrimination and inequality. So like I learned, being an accomplice takes it a step further, where like you're putting that into action and like supporting policies and ideologies that would actually push for change. So like pushing for universal design, like you mentioned, where everyone would have access to everything.
Benefits everybody.
Yeah. So we should be accomplices.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have anything else. Do you guys have any thoughts right now about bodies?
Make choices.
Make choices.
No, I don't have any other thoughts. I think this was a good conversation.
Yeah, make choices about good choices. I would counter about your body, about other people's bodies.
Yeah.
Sometimes your choices affect other bodies, and you have to. Sometimes you have to consider animal bodies when you swat at them. Like
I agree.
That.
True.
I agree.
It scared me.
He's working on it.
Yeah, we're all working on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Any final thoughts?
No, I think for me, like, it helps to know that I am not the only one that feels that way. Because I notice even like doing this, like I'm like trying to suck in my gut because I'm like looking at the camera and I'm like, okay, well I don't like how I look, right? So, being conscious of that too. So.
There's likely someone who's watching this, looking at your body, looking at all of our bodies, and thinking, "Oh, they have some good bodies."
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Christian.
Oh my gosh. I'm getting the heck out of here now. What the heck?
Well, I appreciate spending time with your bodies.
Me too.
Yeah. Spend some more time with them throughout this vacation.
Some hot bodies.
Yeah.
And scene.
Anaerobic.
Had something in my eye for 20 minutes.
All right, chat. We'll see you later.
See
you then, or I'll see you another time. Did it just turn off?
I think it did, yeah.